It's time to widen our entrepreneurial knowledge. Kaya naman samahan niyo ako for the next 30 minutes. Kung last week pinakilala namin sa inyo si Sir Justin Uy of ProFood International Corporation, also known as Mango King, ngayong linggo naman ipapakilala namin sa inyo ang isa pang Cebuano na super successful. I'm Chalotok at ito ang Go Negosyo Bossing. Fun, colorful, and irresistible. Ganyan ang mga souvenir shirts na ito. Ang galing talaga ng negosyanteng tampak natin ngayong araw. Siya lang naman ang nakaisip ng business idea nito. Cool, di ba? Kilalanin natin si Mr. Jay Aldeguer, ang presidente ng Aldeguer Group of Companies. As promised, ihahatid namin sa inyo ang story ni Mr. Jay Aldeguer. At hindi lang story, he is here with us today. Thank you for being with us.
A pleasure's mine.
Medyo babalik tayo a few years back, okay? Sino si Jay Aldeguer during his teens?
I was just like any ordinary child, I guess. Although one thing stood out, I think, based on the stories of my parents, is that when I was a child, I always wanted to try to excel or be the best that I can be in pretty much anything I'd set myself, my sights on, whether it be in school or sports or anything like that. But other than that, I was just like any other boy.
So ever since, you were already entrepreneurial?
Not entrepreneurial. In fact, that never really, it wasn't like it was a conscious effort to be in business or to be entrepreneurial. You know, that term entrepreneurship or entrepreneurial was never actually familiar.
Prior to having the Island brand that we see almost everywhere already in color orange, was there anything else that you started with?
I remember as early as grade 5, I was already drawing and selling my drawings to my classmates. Yeah.
Aba, and may bumibili ba?
Of course, that's why. It started out as a hobby until somebody offered to buy my drawing for ₱1. And then the funny story there was that I offered to color the drawing for another 50 cents and they obliged, so
may extra option pa.
Yeah. So may mga features na. And then I think that kind of that was an important part in the sense that I used to drawing because out of a hobby and I enjoyed doodling and things, and when somebody appreciates your drawing and pays for it, it does wonders to a little boy, I guess. So.
Were your parents also entrepreneurial? Did they have their own businesses?
Yes, they were very entrepreneurial, and they were also very encouraging in terms of, like for instance, that incident in grade 5 when I was drawing, I would buy more materials for some orders of my classmates.
Supportive.
And they were very supportive, and they didn't shoot down my crazy idea and say just focus on your studies.
Yeah.
So they were very supportive.
Who was your greatest influence growing up?
I think it's my dad. But my mom was always gave that moral support. My mom's also an excellent entrepreneur, just like my dad. But it was my dad that that I really identified with growing up.
With Island Souvenirs, how did it actually start?
The story there was almost accidental in the sense that although I was selling T-shirts in college, I never thought that I would embark on something in tourism or travel up until after college when I was backpacking around Europe and I would collect shirts for myself. My parents were always in the garment business.
Okay.
So that sort of exposed me. But in college, being a provinciano from Cebu, I was sent to Manila, or I chose to go to Manila, went to the Ateneo, and of course, to augment my allowance, I had to look for other means of, so I could,
may pangangailangan, there was a need for it.
Of course.
Okay.
It was nice to eat out in restaurants, go out on dates and stuff like that.
Bring out the girls.
Yeah, of course. They have to have enough money, di ba? Unlike in Cebu where, you just bring out a date to barbecue and beach, okay na yan. No? Sa Manila, of course, to go out with friends, you had to go to restaurants.
But kidding aside, with the shirts, was it always the idea always there na it's all about tourism?
No. In college, it was just plain T-shirts that I was selling, collared shirts, which was the trend in the late 80s.
Okay.
No design, no brand, nothing. Just different colors of shirts. Somehow found suppliers in Marikina at that time.
Oh.
Yeah, by myself. So I went and talked to the suppliers, bought samples, booked my shirts with my classmates, And yung down payment nila was more than enough to pay for the cost of the shirts.
Right now, we have a really nice brand coming up and it's all orange. When you were starting, may brand na rin ba yun?
I started the souvenir concept after college. This was when I decided that, and tourism in the Philippines, especially Cebu, was picking up. So that's when I decided that there is a big potential for souvenirs in the country. And at that time, I was exposed to marketing and a little bit of branding at that time, so I knew that the brand would be very important because souvenirs, you see souvenirs everywhere. And its brand identity, I felt early on, was very important. And true enough, it was the turning point. Yung mga designs namin were I would say, the selling factor. Because a lot of the designs at that time were very outdated, very traditional, hand-painted drawings and so on.
And yours?
As we were very colorful. I think we were the first to really portray the country in a colorful, vibrant color. Because you remember in the 70s, 80s, a lot of the Philippines was portrayed as, very ethnic, wood-inspired, dark hues and so on.
Very native.
Maharlika type looking colors. And I felt na the Philippines is known as a tropical destination, with an archipelago of so many colorful islands. So there, we decided to make our shirts more colorful, more
young
dynamic,
and hip, actually.
and more fun.
Ayun. Uy, bumagay ka ngayon.
Of course, that's why, yeah.
We know you're a busy man, but Jay Aldeguer, outside of work, what are your other interests and hobbies?
Well,
kasi grade 5, I know you like drawing. Pero ngayon, drawing pa rin ba?
Well, no, but I dabble in photography.
Ayun.
In photography because I couldn't draw. At least when you take photos, you compose the photos. I started taking photos of people in a photojournalistic way, I'd like to believe. But eventually, I started just taking pretty much anything, from landscapes to items to anything.
Okay, aside from photography, anything else?
I like driving out of town. I like driving to the mountains. Yes.
So you really like to travel as well, talaga?
Yes, I like to travel a lot.
Okay.
Yes.
Wala lang, we're just giving them a little bit of tidbits about you.
Okay.
Because later on, we'll be giving them the big one, meaning your success story, because we've actually gotten your background and how it all started. So sa ating pagbabalik, medyo bibitinin ko muna kayo. More on Jay Aldeguer's success. Island Souvenirs amazingly had 400% increase in sales right on its first year. Today, there are over 90 outlets of Island Souvenirs in the country, including kiosks. So right now, we're at the Island Stay Hotels. You one of your new babies?
Yes.
Okay,
indeed.
when did it open?
Last year. We're barely a year old. Yeah.
Mag-1 year old pa lang.
Yes.
Okay. A while ago, we were talking about how it all started, where it all came from. But right now, you actually chose to open the Island Stay Hotel, and you also have your Bangka tours.
Yes.
Why?
People think it's a totally diverse business, but it's actually a natural progression in the sense that we cater to the same market. We are in the travel and tourism industry. So it wasn't very difficult to see our business evolve.
Okay.
And to top it all off, being a believer in tourism, the tourism industry in the Philippines, I felt, and I was a bit frustrated, that there were a lot of gaps in our tourism services. I felt for us, for the Philippines, to be a world-class, truly world-class destination, we needed to fill in these gaps. And there's so many opportunities, and just like any other entrepreneur.
I'm Andrea. I head the marketing department for the entire Islands group of companies. So that's inclusive of Island Souvenirs, Islands Bangka Cruises, and most recently, Island Stay Hotels. Islands Bangka Cruises is all about experiencing the islands in a whole different way. We're based in Cebu and we're always coming up with ways, what else is new to offer to the tourists. And so we came up with island hopping, which is a really basic Cebuano leisure activity. For a group of 6, they can already go to Talima for about 2,500 pesos. And Talima is just another island that's across the Mactan Channel. For someone with a little bit less of a budget, we've started the Sunset Chill Out Cruises, which goes under the 2 bridges of Mactan, which is very scenic, very relaxing. And it's 295 pesos per head. So it's definitely very affordable. And recently, with the success of Islands Bangka here, we've recently opened a new franchise in Davao, which takes you around the islands and the Samuel area. Usually when you go island hopping, the bangkas are not very clean, the crew aren't trained, you know. So we wanted to elevate that experience into something more, something that's truly world class. So we've upgraded our bangkas. They now have expanded decks. They have beanbag seats. The seats are also cushioned, and we have speakers, you know, to enjoy the music. Because the perfect thing to do when you're in a bangka is just, you know, chill, just enjoy the view. So basically, that's what the Islands Group is all about. It's about taking an ordinary concept and reinventing it so that it's more enjoyable for the tourists. I'd like to invite all of you mga kago-negosyo to explore the Philippines, to enjoy the natural environment. Really, the Philippines is so beautiful, but of course, when you're enjoying the Philippines, don't forget to take the islands with you. Go to Island Souvenirs, or if you're in Cebu and opening soon in other branches, go to Islands Stay Hotels. When you're in Cebu and Davao, please try Islands Bangka Cruises. It's definitely an unforgettable experience.
Here we are with your almost one-year-old baby,
Yes,
and
yes.
you actually have 2 branches already here in
Yes,
Cebu.
2 branches in Cebu, and 2 are coming up within the year in Cebu.
Okay.
Yes, and of course in other destinations as well. So expect to see island stay in Boracay and Palawan, and of course
every
Manila.
island.
Of course, yes, definitely.
Okay, we'll be doing a little tour right now, but syempre kakwentuhan mo ko more about this. The Island Stay Hotel, is it because you felt a need for people who were traveling and needed a hip place to stay but affordable? What was it?
Hip is one, but it's not only the concept of the hotel per se. I think it's how travelers are. There's a different trend in traveling today.
Okay.
People want very straightforward packages, products, and so on and so forth.
True.
And in the past, of course, they had travel agencies and travel
Yeah.
agents to guide them, but lately, a lot of travelers.
DIY na. Do it
Yes, and
yourself.
they're very
Yeah.
adventurous, they're very independent, and they like doing and choosing things themselves.
That's right.
So that alone, I think the business model was patterned after that kind of market.
Here's just one room that you guys actually have, and it plays with the word hip definitely, and no fuss,
Okay,
right?
of course.
Okay.
Even the way our rooms are labeled is very straightforward. We label our rooms as small, medium, large, XL.
Parang t-shirt yun
Yeah,
ah.
of course. But it's, I mean, people think it's cute and very novel, but actually, if you think about it, it's very practical and very straight to the point in the sense that until now, I'm sure you've traveled a lot, it's very difficult to distinguish between deluxe, superior, standard,
That's
and
right.
so forth, right? But everybody can identify
Small,
with-
medium, large.
Correct. So-
Okay, so this one is what?
This one's an extra large.
Extra large. Yan ba? Drawings mo rin yan?
No, but again, you're right earlier when you said that I exercised a little bit of
Creativity
direction.
everywhere, yeah.
And creativity not only in terms of the design, but creativity in terms of again the way we communicate to our customers, to our guests. Those are very important. Right?
Okay, Jay, this is the important question. Is orange your favorite color? Napaka-importante, no?
Well, it's becoming my favorite color because it's doing very well for the brand. But actually, my natural favorite color is white and blue. And
White
yeah.
and blue. Nautical. So why orange? It just came to be?
Yes, because yes, we were looking for a color that would represent the brand, that was vibrant, fun, and obviously very dynamic.
Okay, so right now, swerte rin naman yung color,
That's
no?
why it's becoming my favorite color already. Yeah.
Okay, right now that this is your soon-to-be one-year-old baby, any
Yes.
challenges that came about also with the Bangka Tours, huh?
Always, because especially we're presenting our products in a relatively different fashion, and we're catering to a new market, as I
Market,
mentioned to you, who's very dynamic, who knows what they want. So it's challenging in the sense that we have to pay attention and be on our toes all the time.
Okay.
And you know, the market today is very volatile, always ever evolving. And their wants always changing, so we have to be on top of that. So whoever is able to listen to their needs and address their needs will always be ahead of the game, and I think that's what we've been able to do.
But even more important, are you enjoying it?
Oh, very
now?
much, of course.
Oh, kasi
Yes,
doon
I can't get into business or into something that I don't enjoy. So obviously, I enjoy. It's very fulfilling.
Kasi some people would say, naku, garments, clothing, medyo iba.
Yeah.
But somehow we see the connection to it and it all ties up.
Yes, of course, it does. As I said, we're targeting the same kind of traveler, a traveler who's dynamic, who's hip, who's independent-minded.
Who's young like us.
Yes, like us. Of course, that's part of it. Yes.
From your new baby, we'll be talking about your panganay, syempre. I'm talking about the Island Souvenirs, where all your first successes came to be. That and more sa pagbabalik ng Go Negosyo, Bossing. Island Souvenirs also has a branch in Okinawa, Japan, and is looking forward to expanding globally. Pag naririnig natin ang term na big-time entrepreneur or bossing, ang usual impression natin ay intimidating, overpowering, or serious. But as for the case of Jay Aldeguer, this impression is totally a 180 degrees dahil sa warm, humble, and optimistic personality niya.
As a boss, he's always very encouraging of us to learn. He always wants us to learn more. It's always about keeping abreast of the current events. He's very meticulous, he's very particular. And of course, he's always, always asking you what's the best way to go about things, how can we always continue improving. He's very curious as to how people travel today, what's the traveler like, and how does this all tie into all of his businesses. Well, Sir Jay super loves the outdoors, If his business is all about traveling or traveling in the Philippines and always experiencing the Philippines in the best way possible, that's really who he is as a person. He loves to travel, he loves the outdoors, he really appreciates nature. In fact, like one of his things to do after work, he likes to go driving, just really enjoying the surroundings and the environment. It's always important to always be learning, just because you've achieved a particular level of success doesn't mean that you can always stay at that level. There's always room to grow, there's always room to improve. And when you're working on something, just because this chapter is finished doesn't mean that you can't learn anything new from it or you can't improve a particular aspect.
And we're back here at the Island Souvenir Shop. Kasama pa rin natin, of course, ang napakabata na si Sir Jay Aldeguer. And he's gonna give us a little tour inside while telling us the story ng kanyang panganay. Ito yun.
Yes, correct.
Okay, when you've opened your very first Island Souvenir Shop, where was it?
In Cebu.
In Cebu.
The timing was perfect because I had just come out of college. That's in the early 90s. And Cebu was really taking the lead in terms of tourism in the Philippines. The Mactan International Airport had just opened. And then the Shangri-La Hotel had just set up shop. So the momentum was perfect here in Cebu. Yes.
Okay, and also, syempre, napasikat ang Island Souvenirs because of you guys were inside the airport as well,
Yes,
diba?
yes, correct.
So this was already a pre-planned concept that you had?
Not really, because at that time, we were just trying to be as creative in terms of our outlets as possible because there weren't any shopping malls at that time, diba? So we had outlets in the airport, we had outlets in tourist-oriented restaurants. We had a long-term plan in the beginning. We knew that there was potential for a business. Our first outlet was in a department store.
Okay.
In White Gold Department Store, run by the Gaisanos. And from a cart outlet, that's when it just took off. Yeah.
What were the challenges? You being a young entrepreneur, ayun. Kasi you were in college, right?
Yes, I was in college, but since I had already a little bit of a background in terms of the supply.
Kala ko in terms of drawing.
A little bit, no?
Okay.
But I had a supplier already because I was selling shirts while I was still in college. So that problem and my credit and my supplier and the quality had already been addressed. So I think the challenge there was to really come up with a concept that was refreshing and something that would sell.
Okay.
And when we came up with the tropical concept, we also gave special attention to the display. We had a bamboo cart, a native bamboo cart. So that was our initial challenge. But the biggest challenge, I would say, was looking for outlets. As I've said, there were no shopping malls. So there wasn't any venue, so to speak, or a retail environment where we could set up shop. We had to be very creative. I mean, we had selling carts in restaurants. I mean, you know, who does that? Yes.
Really? And as they say, location, location, location. But look where you are right now.
And going back to that, going back to the outlets, if you remember before, the Filipiniana sections or the souvenir sections of a department store is always relegated to the back or the top floor.
Somewhere in the end.
Somewhere in the end where you had to really look for it. No?
Yeah.
It wasn't really a mainstream business. So we had to convince the department stores and eventually the mall owners that, you know, the souvenir business is not really a cottage industry or a cottage type business as perceived by many. And I think we've been able to prove that.
Definitely. Just like where we are right now, it's actually is it the shop nearest to the airport?
To the airport, yes.
And it's on its own.
Yes, it's a standalone
a standalone shop already.
Yes, yes.
Okay. What was the moment when you said, eto na, I feel it, this is a success?
We felt the success early on because the minute we opened our first cart, the response was overwhelming. People were, all of a sudden, in less than 2 weeks, our cart in that department store sold more than any other brand in that department store. So that showed a lot of promise. And on our first year alone, on our second year rather, our sales increased by more than 300%.
Aba!
So you can tell that what do you call this? That there was
Success
really
talaga.
that there was really a lot of demand for good souvenirs and Cebu was the right place for it.
How do you not let it get into you?
Get what do you mean?
Syempre, you were young. Tapos eto na, ang rami.
Oh, no, it wasn't. That never really. You know, it's just a simple satisfaction, as it is today when you see somebody actually pull out a shirt and pay for it and bring out a shopping bag, and you know, with a smile on their face. And that I think the satisfaction until today is still as real and as fulfilling as it was, you know, almost 20 years
And
ago.
you didn't stop with the shirts. Well, aside from, of course, the hotel that we got to see and the bangka, you also have other products already in line.
Yes, correct.
Medyo marami na.
Yes.
Speaking about shirt, may mini shirt na rin.
Yes, of course.
So you went through everything. You know, a lot of young ones right now, medyo shirt business, they're into it,
Yes,
diba?
yes, yes.
People from high school even, they started. What advice could you give to them?
First of all, come up with a concept. A concept is very important. You have to differentiate. As you said, ang dami, no? There's so many shirts. There's a proliferation of brands and t-shirt concepts around the market. And that's healthy because, as I said, there's really a concept for everyone. And the market is so huge. So number one is come up with a concept that differentiates you from the rest. And second, be very disciplined with your concept. The tendency sometimes is that we're too volatile, we get bored with our concept, we get tempted by short-term gains. In the long run, you wake up and you're not clear what your concept is, and then you become just like everybody else. So I think that's very important for those that want to start out in the t-shirt market. Yes.
Jay Aldeguer, thank you very much
Oh, my
for
pleasure.
spending
Pleasure,
time
Chad.
with us and sharing your story. We hope to see a lot of the color orange all around the 7,107 islands.
Oh,
of
I'd
the
like to see that too.
High tide or low tide.
Yes, correct.
Thank you,
Thanks
thank
very
you.
much, Shannon. Thanks to Go Negosyo.
Go Negosyates Bossings and Future Bossings! Daghang salamat po sa pagsama niyo sa amin today. Sana po marami kayong business kaalaman na napulot from us. Kaya naman kita-kits ulit tayo next week dito lang sa Go Negosyo Bossing. Siyempre, huwag kalimutang bumili ng mga Go Negosyo books, lalo na ang pinakabagong 50 Inspiring Stories of Young Entrepreneurs. Available po yan sa lahat ng leading bookstores nationwide. Need advice on how to start and run your own business? We're just a text and click away. Text GoNego to 2910 for Globe and Smart. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/GoNegosyoOfficial. Maraming salamat sa aking mga sponsors, Air Clothing, Iconic by Abbott Care, Auto Shoes, Headway Salon, and Geron Travel and Tours. At mula sa Go Negosyo, maraming salamat sa ating mga annual partners, PLDT SME Nation, Smart Communications, Meralco, RFM Corporation, BPI Family Kanegosyo, Avon Cosmetics, Multiply.com, OPMC, Isuzu Philippines Corporation, LBC Express Incorporated, Value Line Systems and Solutions Corporation,